According to U.S. government statistics, there are something like 30 million small businesses in this country. Talk to economists who know much more about the subject than I do, and they'll tell you that most of the growth in jobs in this country over the next 10 to 20 years will not occur from these big companies. They'll really occur from small businesses. So I decided to write a book explaining what these small businesses were doing. But it wasn't a book just about any small business. It's really about a different breed of small businesses. And I call this breed of small businesses the new small. They're using open source software, cloud computing, social media, mobility, and software as a service in some really interesting ways. Now, I know what you may be thinking, oh, it's another technology book. No, it's not. It's much more of a management text than a technology one. I wrote this book as a small business owner for other small business owners. In the book, I outline 5 enablers, 5 emerging technologies that the new small companies are using. The first up is cloud computing, which lets you get to your data essentially anywhere at any time. Next up is social technologies. I'm talking about social networks and social media, Facebook, LinkedIn, things like that. Third, software as a service. Think of something like Salesforce.com. You can basically rent the software without having to buy it. Fourth, open source software. I'm talking about Firefox, I'm talking about WordPress, different technologies that millions of people use. And then finally, mobility. Think iPad, think iPhone, think BlackBerry. People want to take their computing with them. When you're writing a book, and you're profiling companies, there's typically no shortage of people who want to be in it, which begs the question, how did I select the companies for the new small? As I said, I had a decent number of responses when I initially put the queries out there on the internet and asked people if they knew someone. And it really came down to the types of companies and what they were doing with technology. I did not want to write a book that profiled 10 or 11 tech companies doing the same things. I really wanted to show, much like maybe a Malcolm Gladwell, how you have very different companies using technologies in very different ways. So you learn through stories, and that's really what the book is about. It isn't a tech book by a tech guy for other tech people. It's really a small business book by a small business guy for other small business owners.